Welcome to Tales from the Squad Car, stories about officers and their daily interactions with the public. I'm Uncle Reddit, and have I got a story for you. Hey guys, welcome back. So, hope you're enjoying these stories. There's not a ton, just like Tales from Retail. There's only a few to be had, so once or twice a week is going to be the most for this subreddit. But let's enjoy what we've got. And just a quick heads up before we read them, there is one story that's a little disturbing in here today, so if you've got a weak stomach, this may not be the video for you. It's not worded too horribly, but yeah, if you're bad on visuals, don't listen. State Trooper, a pursuit story. Attention units, local PDs in pursuit, heading our direction. Stolen truck doing about 90 miles per hour. It was early morning and we were all getting out of briefing. That had about 5 of us in position. Generally, anytime the local police get into a pursuit on a freeway, they want us to take it over. They usually don't have radios that extend that far outside their city. They don't know the roads as well, and they're not trained to drive quite like we are. My partner and I were in 2 separate cars. We set up at an interchange between 2 freeways, waiting for an update on where the pursuit was going to go. Dispatch updated. Committed to head southbound. My partner took the lead. I took the backup position, and our supervisor jumped in behind us. Our other 2 units stayed nearby. The local police dropped out and let us take it over. We also had air support on the way. As far as pursuits go, this wasn't anything exciting. The truck we were chasing wasn't capable of going that fast. A few minutes into the pursuit, it started smoking and looked like something important had broken. Traffic was so light that the risk to anyone else was minimal, and the fleeing driver was doing an okay job of staying in control and avoiding other cars. A couple miles in, it looked like they might be giving up. They exited the freeway and came to a stop. Dispatch, vehicle appears to be yielding, but they weren't. They put it in reverse, did a 3-point turn and went back onto the on-ramp. I moved into lead position when they suddenly jumped a small concrete curb to go the wrong way on the freeway, where we had just come from. I had a half second to make my decision and I floored it to try and ram them. That half second was all my car's transmission needed to get confused, and I completely missed. Me, my partner, and the supervisor all stopped. The political reality is that if they crashed wrong way with us chasing them, it would be the police blamed. If they crashed without us chasing them, it would be the suspect's fault. And the reality of physics is that people driving wrong way on a freeway are far more likely to crash than if they're going the right way. So we were out. Dispatch, they just got on going the wrong way. They're now northbound in the southbound lanes. Negative units in pursuit. A random driver exited the ramp and yelled to me, "There's a truck going the wrong way!" Our emergency lights were still on and I yelled back, "You think?" Fortunately, we had a couple units behind, one of which was able to get the freeway stopped. He saw the suspect coming his way at 60 miles per hour. He later told me he thought, "How do I ram this truck without dying?" He aimed for the rear as it went by but missed as it kept driving the wrong direction. The air unit finally went overhead. That let us follow it the wrong way and back off to try and calm the suspect so they'd stop driving recklessly. The truck flipped around and went the right way again, with only the air unit following. It eventually went out of my area and another area picked it up. Another 10 minutes in and the truck's engine finally gave out. The suspect was luckily taken into custody without incident. Yeah, he's not wrong. I mean, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you pursue the suspect going the wrong way on the freeway, he's probably just going to get more agitated, drive more recklessly, and cause more of a problem or more of a worse accident maybe. And then it's all your fault. If you don't chase him and he has an accident, they're probably still going to try to blame the city, state, whatever agencies are involved. It's just a no-win situation. I'm glad they got him stopped without anybody actually getting hurt though. Patrol Sergeant. Sun-dried hoarder suit. This is the one, guys. If you've got a sensitive belly, I wouldn't stick around for this one. There should be chapters marked down below if you want to skip ahead. Disclaimer, this contains graphic content, so eat those donuts at your own risk while reading it. This happened a few years back on a particularly hot and humid summer day. I'm in South Texas, so we regularly get 100 plus Fahrenheit temps and 95% humidity. For those of y'all who've never experienced that, imagine getting out of a steamy hot shower in a small bathroom with no windows or vents. I was still working patrol then and got called by one of my minions to assist on a welfare check for a middle-aged man living alone. The neighbors had sensed some foul smells, so it was then that I knew what's behind those walls was going to be very, very unpleasant. For the record, I have no gag reflex, and I have a phobia of people being sick around me. I think it's called a metaphobia. I've never thrown up myself, but I'm deathly afraid of it. so no gag reflex comes in super handy in two circumstances, this sort of call being one of them. I told my deputy we gotta mask up and brace ourselves. He was confused, but I said, just trust me on this one, you'll thank me. We put on a mask, rubbed some menthol under my nose, gloves on, and we opened the door. It was almost like I could smell that house before I could even take a breath. One of those, you know? We made our way through the mountains of garbage, boxes, moldy food, cockroaches, undetermined gooey substances leaking on the floors and walls. I spotted at least 3 raccoons and rats in various stages of decomposition. My deputy opened the bedroom door, which had gracefully shielded the rest of the dwelling from the horrid stench and its source. We looked at each other and I could see his eyes widen and get teary immediately. If you throw up right now, I swear I'm going to physically fight you, I warned. He kept dry heaving and wiping his tears, but blissfully left it at that. On the bed, if we can call it a bed, there laid a naked 350 to 400 pound man with liquids oozing out of various orifices and maggots roaming around. It must have been around 94 degrees inside the house, and it was later determined that the death occurred around 5 to 6 days prior. I've seen a lot of unspeakable sights, felt a lot of disgusting smells, heard a lot of traumatizing stuff, but this is probably in the top 3 worst things I've ever walked into. I always tell the new folks that once you've had your first DOA decomp call, you'll never forget the smell. It stays with you forever and it's impossible to forget. Well, thankfully, in most of the jobs I've had throughout my life, I've never had to walk in on quite anything that bad. But I will say, I did get hired to do a cleanup job from somebody who decided to take their own way out. Now, by the time I got there, investigations were done, the person was removed from the scene. My job was to clean up what was there, dispose of anything that was being disposed of, including carpet, mattress, wherever debris landed, let's put it that way. It was a townhouse that had been closed up in the middle of a Philadelphia suburb summer, and the smell was still pretty rank, so yeah, not great. Officer, crikey. It was a normal day, probably around 9 a.m. I was drinking my fancy coffee and not too much was going on in the city. I was being proactive doing some business checks when they dispatched someone else to a report of a found wallet in my area. I canceled them and took it because I personally have some weird obsession with not allowing someone to take report-only calls in my area. Accountability, integrity, and all that jazz. I arrive and speak with the complainant who states they found it on the trail behind the apartments. The trail is odd because it's the line that separates the city from the county. They found the wallet technically in the county, but I don't really care to make a multitude of people do extra work just to dodge work. Plus I want my wallet back and not 2 dumbasses arguing over jurisdiction while I'm worried about my wallet. It's an out-of-state ID, so it was more than likely a college student. I used some of our resources and get some possible phone numbers, because the college won't give us phone numbers for the students under any circumstances. I end up calling the dad because the names are extremely similar and he confirms it's his son's and gives me his phone number. I call the kid whose wallet it is and let him know I've got it. He says he's leaving class and headed towards one of the chow halls. I let him know I'm on the way. I pull up 10 minutes later after driving through the nightmare of foot traffic that is on campus. When I arrive, I see there's roughly 300 or 400 people there, which makes me happy to stick out in a crowd for once. This kid finally finds me in the crowd and I give the wallet back. He asks where I found it because he'd been looking all morning. I told him on the trail and he laughs and looks like he's reminiscing. He says, "Yeah, I was out there with my frat last night. I had to dress up as Steve Irwin, like the shorts and all, and I had to chase this deer for like 10 or 20 minutes through the woods. I must have lost it while chasing the deer." I laughed and he thanks me for bringing it back to him. I add the story to the call comments, hoping it'll bring dispatch as much joy as it brought me. Not the most exciting story, but one of the more memorable ones. Yeah, good for you for taking the bull by the horns on that one. It's amazing the amount of bureaucracy that has to be dealt with just because, like you said, the wallet was found in county, you were in city limits, whatever, and it turns into a whole thing where really it's not that complicated. As long as there was no crime involved, like a missing person or an assault, whatever. And on another note, most of the places I've lived in my life, if I had said that I had been chasing a deer, doesn't matter if it's on foot, daylight, nighttime, whatever, I probably would have got a ticket for harassing wildlife, so that kid got off pretty light, I guess. Officer, come on, do crime. Our city is 17.5 square miles and a college town with roughly 100,000 on a normal day, a fifth of that being college students. Our shift of 8 had a work chat, probably like everyone else, where we'd bitch, make memes of each other, and text about normal patrol functions. My beat is the business district and college students in mostly rich areas. Most days I don't get a call until 10 a.m. Around 2 p.m. it blows up, and then I'm call to call until 6 p.m. This day the city was quiet. I was bored and felt like being an ass and tempting the police gods. I fired up the meme machine and picked the "come on, do something" meme and captioned it, "come on, do crime," and sent away. Replies of "F off," "don't start," and so on filled the chat. I sent back, "sure is quiet," and "been a while since we've had a shooting or stabbing." 10 minutes passes. Tones drop. My call sign and unit XXX respond to behind fast food place for a physical domestic. Male choking female, now punching her. We beat feet out there to find nothing but a female in a vehicle matching the description by herself. We make contact and she's pretty uncooperative. Some marks but won't give up a name or admit anything happened. Dispatch confirms her husband is in jail, so we had essentially nothing to go off, and the comp won't answer the phone. 20 minutes of investigation and all units unfounded. 2 hours later, I'm completely out of my beat in the more violent crime area of the city. I'm trying my butt off to be in the right place for some fun. Tones drop. My call sign and unit XXX respond to a residential B&E in progress in a highly populated college area. My area, 5 males, 2 with pistols and 3 with rifles just entered a residence through a window. This is what gets my rocks off, but at the same time, one caller in the middle of the day seems like BS. The entire shift marks en route. 2 from county and 2 from campus PD marks en route. While en route, dispatch advises additional calls, all confirming dispatched info. There's 5 of us rolling down the interstate about a mile out, and I'm looking at call comments. There's male at a tree line with a rifle, males exiting the residence with valuables, males getting into vehicle. Dispatch is crapping the bed and not giving any of this info. 30 seconds later, we all arrive, everyone goes down the main route to the call, and I jump up the next street to get behind the tree line. Rifle gets deployed and I slowly clear the tree line. Suspect vehicle not on location. We all get a quick team together and approach the apartment complex. I hold the edge of the building and contact is made with the resident. 30 seconds and I hear all units not in the residence clear up. Pikachu face. Turns out it was a hazing incident and they took his stuff as part of it. Our frat boy suspects return a couple minutes later with their airsoft guns in the car and bring his stuff back. They get an earful from our supervisor and a report is done, and forwarded to the student discipline board. After the incident, the group chat blows up with me getting cussed like a dog for stirring the city up. I've had my fill of adrenaline and the normal reports and BS fill the rest of the day until 20 minutes before the shift change. Most of the shift is in the patrol room just chilling for shift change. Tones drop. "You did this, you're taking it," is what I hear from the old-timers. Units XXX and YYY respond to the homeless shelter for a physical disorderly in progress. 2 males fighting. One has a golf club and is swinging it at the other male. I cancel one and a guy from the night shift joins us too. We get there and it's the normal BS of an argument that turned physical and neither wants to press charges. I provide case numbers to both for the report in case they change their mind. One comes back wanted and night shift takes the arrest so I can leave. I get back to the PD 5 minutes before shift change and we all laugh at the crap storm I caused. I wish I could say this was the last time I tempted the gods, but it wasn't. I remember working private security a few times when somebody would say the dreaded words, "Man, it sure is quiet." And I'm not normally a superstitious person, like, at all. I really am not. But for some reason, anytime somebody said anything like that, everything just busted loose. Everything went wrong. Alarms were going off. People were showing up where they weren't supposed to be. Drunken disorderlies. I mean, you name it. So, who knows how the universe works. Policing intern. Oh, this is how the highway police perform so well. I would rather avoid saying my country. However, I work with my country's National Policing Service as a cybercrime investigator. During this story, I was an intern, though. Just for context, National Police is like our equivalent of NCAA or FBI or RCMP or AFP. Not exactly the same cool factor here, but the roles are somewhat similar. National Highway Police, technically called the National Highway and Roads Police, is one of the few other agencies on the national tier. We don't have separated local police agencies either, just regional and local branches of a national administration of local policing services, which is the third major policing agency. Without getting far into statistics, however, highway police perform ridiculously better than any other agency or branch of an agency when adjusted for size as it pertains to serious offense arrests. This took place during the time I was only in the local policing services and trying to get my foot in the door of the national tier. I took an internship with the highway police here, which effectively translated to being a ride-along for a week. Except because I was fully licensed as an officer, I could participate to some extent in the law enforcement capacity. I was incredibly aware of their high performance being the case, as they tend to not be very humble about that and love reminding people of their importance. However, I didn't really quite understand it. I knew they were pretty high speed. I knew they used their national plate reader system constantly. I knew they actively performed operations to execute arrest warrants. I just didn't understand the frequency. I was paired with an officer in an unmarked vehicle, and we spent most of the morning of my first day making traffic stops based on radar/LiDAR speed cameras and license plate readers. From 8 a.m. to noon, we made 14 traffic stops for driving offenses. However, around noon, we were called to participate in a rolling criminal arrest warrant execution for a CP, very bad guy at that, also wanted for various gang-related battery offenses. Our radio controller, or dispatcher, guided several unmarked units, including ourselves, to the car in question. We awaited a marked unit to perform some traffic slowing maneuvers far behind us, and they coordinated over the radio to box him in. We also discussed who would have lethal force, who would be taser, who would use munitions, who would be pepper spray, etc. One car overtakes him to get in front, one stays by the suspect vehicle's side, we stay behind him. On a 3-2-1 countdown, lights and sirens go on and the suspect vehicle is forced to the shoulder. We end up pulling everyone out, totaling 3 people. Our suspect was there. His backseat passenger had a criminal warrant as well for a gang-related battery. The front seat passenger was known for gang-related battery, however, not wanted at that time. However, he was in violation of his release conditions by being with those gang members and due to the substances in his pocket. We dumped these suspects off at the nearest local police branch station to become their problem, then continued patrolling. Through my first day, we conducted 12 more traffic stops and made 2 more arrests. On one of those, an arrest was made on a habitual serious traffic offender who we watched cut someone off and also had a petty theft warrant. The other stop was made as the plate search indicated the registered driver had no driver's license and a warrant for battery on ambulance personnel. In the remainder of my 7 days, 12-hour shifts, with them, we made easily around 100 traffic stops, 4 arrests resulting from traffic stops, 1 more rolling warrant execution that generated 2 arrests, 4 collision responses and investigations, one of which resulted in a hit-and-run arrest, and 3 calls to assist local police branches, all of which ended in arrests. The highway police also have divisions entirely dedicated to those rolling warrant executions, where that's all those divisions do all day, multiple per day. In my current role as a cybercrime investigator with the National Police, highway police have been the ones to execute at least 10 to 20% of the serious warrants I generate, and that's a conservative estimate. Yeah, that sounds like some stuff I've seen in Eastern Europe or even South Africa. I've seen some things from South Africa where they operate just like this. I'm not saying we don't do it here in the US, but that seems to be almost like normal MO. Roving patrol units that, catch these guys and box them in like that. It's pretty cool. By the way, some of the things that I have not mentioned that you may have seen reference to on the screen, you kind of got to use your imagination on those because there's certain key phrases that if I say it on here, they shut my monetization down and maybe even censor my video. So got to be careful how things are phrased. But hey, if you guys enjoyed this video, do me a favor. Click this one here on the screen. I think you're going to enjoy it. See it.